Welcome back everyone to another video on CupCode 01. So today we're running another file. You're going to be using sys and argv again, but now we're going to be doing different things with prompts, using input and then using the actual input in the code to then feed back into itself. So it's kind of like passing and pulling. That's why I named it PP. We're going to be passing information and then we're going to pull that to bring it back into the code. Very useful down the road. So let us just, and we're going to run this also in terminal. So if I try to run this right now, I'm on PP, yeah, let me run PP. I'm going to get an error, not enough values to impact, expected 2, it got 1, so script is 1, username is another. Those are my argvs, and we didn't pass any through because it didn't give us a chance to. So if I get rid of you, and if I open Tool, Windows, and Terminal, different ballgame altogether. So this is what we're going to use for now. So I'm going to magnify this up so people who can see it better, and we'll go from there. So from sys, input argv, we've covered that before, and then we're doing, what did I do there? That is not right. That should have been, I guess we can just do this. Like, that's supposed to be script and username. Yeah, talk about a cut and paste fiasco. Script and username equals argv. So those are my two arguments that I'm going to be passing through the sys module. And then I'm just creating a variable prompt, and it's equaling a string. It's an empty string with just this one character, this sideways caret. It could be a greater than sign. It could have been 1, it could have been 2, it could have been 3. I just want that to show up in here, I'll make it 3 just so we can see that we did that. It just makes it, in my opinion, look a little nicer on the terminal. So the first one, print f, open string, hi, curly brackets, user underscore name. So I'm using one of the arguments actually in a print function. That's what I did. I dragged crap before when I highlighted. So I'm using one of the arguments inside of a print function with curly brackets. Comma, and then I'm using another argument into my print function, script, and then I'm closing the quote. Now you'll notice here, we've never done this before, putting an F inside of a print function. You'll notice as we go through the script, it's not in all of them. We'll cover exactly what that is and why. I am going to also bring this in a little bit more so I can keep more of this stuff on one window. Sweet. So, next line, print string. I'd like to ask a few questions. Now you'll notice that I have two different kinds of quotes. I have double quotes and I have single quotes. I had to do that. I had to put my string in double quotes. Otherwise, if I did it in single quotes, this next single quote in "I'd" would have cut off the string and it would have screwed up the syntax. Third line, print. We have the F again before our string. What kind of computer are you learning to code on? Curly brackets, argument variable, username. And then we have learning, which is just a variable equals input. So, and then prompt. And if you look at the prompt up top, what is it asking? So by saying input, we're telling Python we want the user to do something, to type something into terminal. And it's going to call prompt, which is just those 1, 2, 3, 4 greater than signs, and then a space, so I can put in whatever string I'm going to put in. And it's going to use my input anywhere that I have that prompt form going forward, which is where you're going to see. Now, because it's gonna pull. So a better way to explain this. So if I did this now and I ran through this, it's gonna say, what kind of computer are you learning to code on? And it's gonna say I put my name Grant. I'm gonna type in, self-made CPU. The computer's gonna store what I typed inside this into learning. It's gonna store that into the variable. But we're doing that through system argument vector in terminal instead of just doing a typical user input prompt. Now, what is the F for? Now the F, you'll notice it's only in 2 strings, and it happens to be in the 2 strings that have argument vector variables in a format that we want to utilize. So I'm just going to read what I have here. I already said the replacement fields. Replacement fields are surrounded by curly brackets. Expressions evaluated at runtime and formatted. So it's only going to be evaluated when we run it. And by putting in the F, we're saying that it's a replacement field, that we want it to be the expression to be evaluated. So it's no different than a lot of the dot format that you've seen before. If you're familiar with Python 2 or early versions of Python 3, you can still do that, but this is the F that we're using in the front. It's essentially a way of mapping replacement fields. So going down, we have print, again, F, so we know we're going to be mapping some kind of a replacement field. What is your favorite CPU? Curly brackets username, and the username, again, is being tied to the argument username that we can see up above, and I can see I screwed this up again. We would have gotten an error, or it would have said not assigned. Username argv, perfect. Now I have another variable, CPU equals whatever I type in for my answer here. What is your favorite CPU? Grant. Whatever I type here, now Python's going to store that in memory in the variable CPU. And again, the input it's going to prompt, it's going to give me those 4 arrows and the ability for me to type something. Print, do you have a GPU? GPU equals input prompt. Again, we already covered that. Print, and then I have F triple quotes. We always use triple quotes when we want to write essentially more than a sentence or a paragraph. All right, so you're learning to code on A, and now we're calling in the learning variable. Look up above, where is learning mapped to? So we go up, we're looking for learning, bam. Learning is going to be my answer to that question, what kind of computer you're learning from. And then it says your favorite CPU is, it's calling the variable CPU. So I'm looking for my variable CPU, whatever input I put in, to what is your favorite CPU question. And I bet that will change soon. You said whatever about the GPU, about owning a GPU. And then on the bottom here, I just have essentially, let me scroll down here, which is better for getting information for someone. The command line arguments are the preferred method, like I said before. We could do user inputs, but command line is the preferred method for a number of reasons, just in terms of runtime and even how computer languages work, which is something we'll cover at a different time in computer science. So let's run this code and actually see what it does. So I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to type down. Now again, we're in the terminal portion of PyCharm. We're running this. So first I'm going to say I want to use Python. I'm essentially CD'd into, I'm essentially changed directory into this because it automatically puts me in. Otherwise, if you were running it from this kind of terminal, if you opened up your own command prompt and you were running it, you'd have to actually change directory into the folder that houses your Python file you're running. Otherwise, you're not going to get anywhere. So I'm going to come back down here. So I'm in Python. So first argument is the script. It is pp.y. It's also, I also have to type that to run the file. If I run that just like that, let's see what we get. Again, it's going to give me not enough as unpack. It's expecting arguments. I only gave it one, the pp.y. So I'm going to go back up. And the second argument was username. So I'm going to put, what is my username? I'm going to put Grant, and I'll hit enter. So it says, hi Grant, I'm the pp.py script. I'd like to ask a few questions. What kind of computer are you learning to code on, Grant? So see, it pulled my input in the command prompt, the argument, and it put it in there. Now I got my 4 arrows down below. I'm going to bring this down just a little bit more. Let me bring this up. Excuse me for a second. So it gives me, you can see my 4 arrows on the prompts. That was the variable prompt. It was the 4 arrows and then a space so I can type in more input. What kind of computer are you learning to code on? I'm going to write kick-ass, personally made. Hit enter. What is your favorite CPU, Grant? At this point, I gotta say AMD's Threadripper, man. The thing is looking really nice. And do you have a GPU? Yes, I do. So then it says, all right, so you're learning to code on a kick-ass personally made. I probably should have put computer after that. Your favorite CPU is AMD Threadripper, and I bet that will change soon. And it said yes about owning a GPU. So I'm going to put, you said yes. Why did I say and? Oh, because I was doing the next line. You said yes about owning a GPU. Get personally made. Just so it makes more sense going forward. Cool. So, do this code, write it, play with it. Again, this is more for learning sys and argv, but it's also for learning how you can utilize command prompt or terminal, and this is also very similar with bash and shell, to get input information from a user, take that input, and then recycle it in different aspects of the code, either to store in memory to recall later or to feed back into the system itself. Thank you guys. Have a great day.